Well, I was just curious, like when you're out and about in public or at a party or like around other people, friends, acquaintances, what question do you get asked like above and beyond anything else?
It's how's the market?
Yeah.
I got asked that yesterday.
Three words. How's the market?
How's the market?
That's the question every time.
And you don't know if you should really answer it.
How much time do you have?
Like, do you want me to say good or bad, or do you want me to actually go into detail and answer it? Yeah, that's, I guess, why we're here today, right? We're gonna actually go into some data, go into what we're actually seeing in the market over the past month.
We're halfway through the year at this point, and I think we had expectations of what the market was maybe going to do headed into 2026, and maybe it started that way, but it's sort of not doing that. Yeah.
The real estate market does what the real estate market wants to do.
Yeah, we zig and zag a lot.
So if you're curious about what's been going on in the market in June of 2026 or the first half of 2026, this video is definitely for you.
Our Triangle MLS houses 19 counties. So it's a huge swath of data, a lot of different locations. I mean, if you live in the Triangle or familiar with the area, you know how different all of our towns and locations can be.
And we don't serve 19 counties. So we'll zone in a little bit on Wake, Wake, Johnston, Harnett.
Wake and Johnston are our main areas we serve. So we'll give you data for that too.
Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Becky Durant, your dedicated buyer specialist right here in the Triangle.
And I'm Sam Coe, your exclusive listing specialist at Dream Team Realty Group. And we are your local Dream Team, first of all. So, we're going to give you the raw, unfiltered data, what's going on in our market, and we're going to look at the big 19 county entire Triangle picture, as well as paring it down to Johnston and Wake counties.
We have several listings. We've had several listings this year. Some went under contract immediately, right? Within a couple days, and some are still hanging on.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing? Let's start with June. What happened in June with our seller clients and with sellers in general?
Well, I think now more than ever, being a listing specialist and only working with our seller clients, I'm having to hone my skills more than ever, really dig deep into the data and making projections about what's coming versus what's already happened 30, 60, 90 days ago, because that doesn't matter anymore. So setting expectations on the way a listing is going to go or how quickly it's going to sell is not a good idea right now. I try not to assume anything because, we might be pricing right out of the gate based on the data that we have. But as soon as we have 2 weeks of showings, or heck, maybe no showings, crickets, we have to kind of redirect what we're doing. So it's a challenging, kind of unprecedented market over the last, from what we've seen over the last 10 years.
So you had mentioned showings, and I know not just with our listings, I know listings kind of across the board. I think the toughest thing for feedback for sellers from a listing agent is, you check in once a week, you tell them what's going on, you give them feedback from showings. Well, what if there are no showings?
So whether we have showings or we don't have showings, I think my clients like to have a benchmark of kind of where we're sitting in comparison to everything else that's on the market.
Right.
We have a little bit of a rising inventory. Buyers have more choices in some cases now. It's not always just about how many showings did we have. It's about, where are we sitting from a buyer lens, where do we need to make changes to be competitive? And market shifting is like a term that we use a lot, and maybe that's not something the general public kind of thinks about or is aware of, but in the first half of this year, I feel like our market is shifting more quickly and more dynamically than it has in the past 10.
Yeah.
It's really important to stay on top of things and in front of things, and we're not chasing the market down.
Yeah. I imagine that's challenging for sellers, because you got sellers who, realistically, they had somebody sell, a neighbor, a friend, whatever, in the same area, the same city, maybe the same neighborhood. a month ago, 2 months ago, and it's truly not the same market.
It's not.
And it's summertime. Historically, summer is like the best time, to sell because you've got the most buyers out. And this year is just different with that.
It's quiet.
Yeah.
It's a softer market for selling. In real estate, you don't get to have a great window to sell and also a great window to buy in the same moment, right?
Yeah.
It's typically weighted one way or the other. And now we're moving more towards a balanced market.
Right.
That maybe even favors buyers in some scenarios. So it's just a different perspective. So when you're out showing buyers, what are some things that you are experiencing kind of that are different or new than in the past?
First time home buyers, really, like, I think in the past it was kind of like, let's just get into a home, let's start building the equity. We're not going to be super picky, and I don't like the word picky, just we're going to be more open to compromising a little bit. Well, I feel like this year, first time home buyers are not interested in compromising. They're really not. So, and they don't have to be. The prices are still higher than they've ever been before. So when you're talking about, we're talking about first time home buyer price ranges between $300,000 and $450,000. Did you buy your first home?
No.
For $300,000? Neither did I.
No, it was
my
half
second.
that. It was half that. Yeah.
So, I mean, they have the right to be, a little more particular and wait.
I agree.
But they're, we're seeing multiple houses, or we're seeing the same house multiple times because they do start kind of picking it apart and like, okay, well, and also I think first time home buyers now are a little bit older, just across the board.
They are. I mean, the median first time home buyer age is like 40 years old.
It's significantly higher than it was.
Yeah.
So they're a little older. I think, a little more savvy maybe, and also probably going to stay in the home a little bit longer than, we did in our first homes. Like you said, you have to, kind of pivot perspective and mindset. Well, so do I, so do buyers. So, but there are some pockets where 2 miles down the road, you have more leverage, you have more time. Here, this house is going to sell quick, and so it's kind of a tough, mindset. If I have somebody looking in multiple areas.
And when's the last time that you were showing a buyer the same house 2, 3, maybe even 4 times before they're making an offer? Like,
that's just been in the last 6 months.
Yeah, that's
really
unheard of.
I mean, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, buyers are like circling and they love the house. They leave the first showing, but they're not ready. There's not the urgency that we've experienced previously.
Yeah. And a couple times, I mean, I have had buyers come full circle back to the same house, and we end up under contract and closed on that house. But they want more time to think on it, and they have that time right now to think on it.
Even though we're boots on the ground every day and see what's happening, we don't necessarily know, we don't have a crystal ball. So we're using experience and digging into the numbers and just really open communication with, other agents on the other side of the transaction, the agent on the other, on the listing or whatever it is. So it's a lot more moving parts.
Well, I mean, to your point, if you're thinking about buying or selling in the Triangle, getting connected with an agent that not only understands what's happening in this market, but has experience, knows other agents, all that stuff comes into play, has built relationships with other agents. All of that comes factors in on the buy side and the sales side of just moving the needle for our clients. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, definitely, connect with us, or interview, multiple agents. There's a ton of agents in this area. Yeah. So getting connected with somebody that you're really comfortable with, that understands the market, is super important. So what's the median, because we always look at the median over the average because it's actually more accurate, right? The median price point here in the Triangle right now.
Yeah, so Triangle-wide, remember these 19 counties, it's a large number of cities and towns. It gives us a wide snapshot. We're at $425,000 for median sale price right now.
Across 19 counties.
Across 19 counties. So that's a huge area. And that 425 number is actually steady year over year. So June this year compared to June last year. So that's encouraging.
Okay, so prices aren't dropping.
No, it's steady.
Yep.
And actually compared to May last month, it's actually up 2% month over month.
I feel that. I feel like, yeah, things have been stable.
Yeah. So then when we look at Wake and Johnston County, which are the main areas we serve, kind of paring things down, looking with a closer lens, we're at $460,000 median sale price.
Yeah.
And that's about a 1% drop from last June, year over year.
Okay.
So nothing significant. Again, like pretty steady. And then a bump of about 2.2% month over month.
From
so
May to June.
Pretty similar to what the triangle wide market is doing.
Yeah.
Which is expected.
So what do you think is the difference between May and June? Because year over year, I mean, that sounds right. It was fairly, stable last year as well, right? We're past the pandemic numbers and chaos. Yeah. But from May to June, do you think it's just the summer? Yeah. Buyers out?
Yeah, I think so. I think our spring market kind of started early and then waned off a little bit and then kind of started again late.
Yeah.
So whereas April, May are typically like our full force months, I feel like that's shifted a little bit this year maybe, or just kind of been more level.
Well, and it feels a little more predictable than it has in several years.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Again, I think it weirds people out because they're used to everything, either being way up or way down, depending on what was going on.
Yeah.
And predictability is actually great for homeowners and for real estate, market around here.
For sure. And I think too, kind of having a different perspective with my sellers, like when we're, I keep telling them like pricing is our focus. It's our superpower right now. And if we price wrong, we're paying for it once we list, for sure. And sometimes even if we price right in the moment, we're paying for it.
Right.
So we have to be able to pivot. But, I was kind of making some notes on general thoughts on pricing. And for me, we're really not looking at 30, 60, 90 days ago. I'm looking at what's active on the market right now in your neighborhood, around the corner, in the neighborhood, down the street, same location. We've got to be competitive. So gone are the days of like pulling 3 closed comparable sales and pricing your home based on that. It's not, it doesn't matter.
Because they're closed. They're
closed. It's done. And we're moving on and the market's changing like we talked about like weekly. Pricing expectations from buyers are changing and they expect to see a price drop where they're not going to come see the house.
Right.
They don't want to work with unreasonable sellers.
That's true, and that's the biggest shift in buyers too. In the past, I say the past, a couple years ago, last year, if a home was overpriced and we could get in and make an offer lower, like that was great. We'd get in.
That made buyers feel good.
It did.
Yeah.
And now it's like, if it's overpriced, buyers just think you're unreasonable and you're not. So like truly we've said this, time and time again this year, like they'll just move on to the next one because they're just kind of like, they're like offended. And also like, I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah. And a lot of sellers I talk to have the mindset, well, we'll price high and they can make an offer.
Right. And they won't.
Okay. So let's talk about closed sales. And this is a lagging indicator, meaning it's telling us where the market has been. So this is closed number of sales. And I think this is important because a lot of national news that I'm seeing and reading and, the nightly news, it's a very generic blanket of things. And a lot of it is negatively charged, I feel like. And it's home sales are dropping, prices are dropping, real estate's in trouble. And it's always this kind of negative undertone. But when we look at triangle closed sales, even though it is a lagging indicator and it's in the past, things are good.
Yeah.
Like year over year, we're up almost 11% from June last year to this year closed.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah. And so what does that tell us? There's more buyers, right? There's more serious buyers that are going under contract and not even just going under contract, but getting from contract to close, which was an issue for a little bit. They'd fall out of contract for whatever reason. Either something would come up in inspections, buyer would lose their, not be able to fund it anymore. Whatever the reason, we were seeing a lot of them come back on last year and the year before that wasn't really a thing in the past. So people getting under contract and then getting to closing is definitely a positive.
Yeah. And I would say it still is harder to get to closing. I mean, buyers are, relying more heavily on the home inspection and repair requests and expecting the seller to make some compromises there. So buyers are more willing to walk, especially when there's less due diligence money on the table.
True. And we had actually mentioned in another video, one of the things that really turns buyers off, and that is if something comes up that wasn't disclosed, even if the seller didn't know, buyers think that they purposely.
Yeah, they're feeling slighted by that for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, closed sales tell a different story for us in the Triangle than the national news is portraying. And it may be that way in other areas, but not in our area. I mean, 11% jump year over year is great. And then month to month from May to June, 4.5% jump in closed sales. So people are closing houses.
Yeah.
When we pare down to Wake and Johnston County, it's even higher, 11.6% year over year increase in closed sales, June to June.
Great.
And then 8% from month of May to June increase in closed sales.
Wow.
So, we're kind of buried in this market with all these nuances that are happening. And so even for us, zooming out and looking at these numbers, because it doesn't feel like a lot of traction is happening.
Yeah.
But when you look at this, it's like, wow, this is the real data.
Yeah.
And the buyers that are out are motivated. It's just the urgency is lower because it can be.
Yeah. Well, they're serious about buying, but they're taking it
home.
So they're taking it seriously. They're serious about buying the right home. That's true. Yeah.
So to that point too, just to give you an idea, in Wake and Johnston County, we had more than half of the entire Triangle MLS's sales happen in our two specialized counties than anywhere else. So the buyers are there. They just have choices.
Yeah.
And, they're exploring all their choices, which is good.
Well, so it sounds like it is still a great time for buyers to buy a home this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And make an offer on a home. Even if you think it's overpriced, make an offer. You'd be surprised what sellers are willing to do right now. Mm-hmm. Moving on to days on market. This is a touchy subject.
Okay.
I think for buyers and sellers right now.
I think more for sellers.
Yeah.
It is for buyers, but we do prepare them. This isn't 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even a month. Yeah, this is normal. So having those conversations ahead of time helps. Days on market is it's not drastically going up. I mean, it's creeping up, I'd say month over month probably.
Yeah.
But with that, price is not, it's usually days on market goes up, price goes down, in conjunction, apples to apples. That's not really the case.
Prices are steadying.
Prices are steady.
Days on market are increasing
Days
slightly.
on market are slightly increasing. And maybe the buyer's getting some extra incentives from the seller, but it's not dropping prices, $50,000.
Yeah, it's a normalizing market.
Yeah.
And when you haven't been through that before, and there's been so many headlines about the COVID era real estate, and now that real estate is bombing, which it's not.
Right.
People don't know what to think.
Right. Okay, so what's going on with showings?
Showings are really intricate, but they're definitely a leading indicator of where the market's going.
Right.
So that's a big thing that we're using right now. And I think showings have been down across the board for sellers. They're not getting the 10, 15 showings opening weekend like they were.
Okay. So what are they getting?
Sometimes none.
Yeah.
Sometimes one or two, they're trickling in.
And usually in the past, if there's no showings, that is a clear red flag that it's priced too high. Is that still the case?
If there are no showings and days on market are, 2 weeks, yes.
Okay.
If they're trickling in, there's less buyers out seriously shopping. So we have to adjust our expectations. And I think, looking at the average number, the important thing here is it's taking 12 to 13 showings to move a property from active to under contract.
Oh.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, if you've had 3 or 4 showings and you don't have an offer yet, sellers are panicking, and that's just, it's just not the market.
But the feedback isn't even negative sometimes, right?
Sometimes buyers are a lot more negatively strong on their feedback than they have been too.
Okay, like what?
Worrying about condition, worrying about big ticket items. However, you just need the right buyer. If you've taken care of the big things and you've been transparent and you've priced appropriately for those things, it just takes the right buyer. yeah, showings are down, more showings.
Do you think, because on the buyer side, I'm definitely seeing where we're doing a second showing or third showing. I mean, rarely do we see it one time and make an offer before we go back again.
Yeah, I'm seeing 2 showings more than ever. And I'm also seeing 2 showings and then sort of like surprisingly negative feedback after the second showing.
Yeah, like just more critical.
Yeah, like, okay, well, is there a conversation opener we could have? My sellers are flexible, they're ready to negotiate, and then it's just like, close the door.
Yeah, so it still really comes down to, you said price, presentation, there was another P in there.
Preparation. Yeah, we're having to do so much more painting and exterior work and landscaping work to present the house in the best light possible, because buyers are not accepting.
Because buyers will just pick it apart.
Less than average, you know, maintenance on things anymore. So if you want a specialized deep dive into your neighborhood, which is really what our market takes right now. It's not a general overview. We've got to dig into your neighborhood, your street, your town. We're always willing to do that. You know, ask us questions, ask us hard questions. I like hard questions.
Yeah.
Like, let's dig in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's your June / mid-year,
first half of the year. Yeah.
Mid-year, market recap. If you have any follow-up questions, we're always here to help.
Selling with Sam, buying with Becky, easy to remember.
Yeah.
And we're here for you at Dream Team Realty Group. We always want to guide your family home.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're coming to this market, relocating from another area, especially, make sure you touch base with us and let us know how we can help. See you next time.
Bye.